Yes, hello everyone. Thank you so much for having us here. So the topic has been said and we had a very, very insightful session before this. And I just, our very first question, which of course has, very well put together by agency reporter team. When Prasad was just talking about previously about, the formats and, he spoke about how all of us are going to remember कौन सा oil लगा हुआ है. So definitely one thing that we always vie for is the audience attention. How do you break through the clutter? That is a very big challenge constantly, and that cannot happen only by buying a lot of media, because that day I was talking to my son and I was saying, now I'm going to have a quiz on which ad belongs to which insurance brand, because there were so many ads and it was difficult to remember which. So considering this, very first question to you, Lala Tindu, you're coming from with very rich media background. How has connected TV, changed the audience behavior in terms of, when you want to break through the clutter? Is it still just, getting the highest frequency, or are there some things that are now different, considering that we are talking about very differently measurable and targetable audience?
So first of all, thank you for having me in the panel, and good to have you guys on the panel with me. Coming to your specific question, or rather, I take a step back, right? So if you think connected TV as a whole, it's a very interesting time because by last count, it was some 35 million households having connected TV, which is roughly 10% of all TV, but still material enough, right, for marketers to get excited. But there's a lot of tailwind, right, which is driving this adoption of connected TV. To your question, how is it changing the behavior, right, specific element? So first of all, we need to realize how connected TV is very different from watching content on a phone or a laptop. Because if you think the traditional digital devices, they are one-on-one essentially. When I am watching something on my phone, it is just me who is consuming. But when it comes to connected TV and I'm casting something, which is the lowest tech of connected TV, more likely than not, I'm watching with a family or a friend, with someone, right? That's the first shift which all marketers need to keep in mind, that there is a co-viewing happening. And that has an impact on multiple things. Number one, there was a research by T-Vision and LG in the US, where they found that the ad recollection factor on connected TV is 54% higher than what you watch on a phone. Why is that, right? Because phone is a multitasking device. I'm switching between content, I'm watching WhatsApp, and I skip the ad, I do something else. Versus when you were in a co-viewing experience, it's very unlikely that maybe you are just totally skipping the ads. Maybe you are having a chat with friend. Maybe that engine oil thing, right? You ask your friend, what engine oil, by the way, you are using? What would Rahul Dravid answer if I have to ask him? So those are some of the subtle behavioral shift which is happening in connected TV. I'm sure along the discussion, we're going to talk a lot more about data and how marketers can target, but I'll keep that for later. But to your specific question, it's a different medium creating a different behavior, and as marketers, we need to be fully cognizant of that.
I just observed something that you said about, the co-viewing, that is one. Also on traditional TV, you could switch channels very easily. That switching channel has been eliminated fairly, right? Going through back to the menu is not as simple at all, right? In fact, initially I used to struggle a lot, to be very honest, to even find what was I watching, continue watching, all of that, yeah. To you, Nupur, again, since you, do you think, considering what he's saying, do you think ad tolerance also, is the audience, more willing to watch, ads on a connected TV than?
Yeah, hi. So I kind of, agree to what Laratinu mentioned, and, in conjunction to what the research mentioned, at Omnicom Group, we follow, for our media planning principles, we follow attention scores, which are computed by, people who are researching on marketing and media, all the time. So Karen Nelson Field is one of the topmost researchers in that field. So she's given out a list of scores of attention by medium, like, which medium is likely to give more attention and all of it. And connected TV and OTT kind of, rank at the top, even higher than television in certain cases, depending on the, which part of the communication journey are you trying to solve. So, when we kind of, internally brainstorm and, think, what are the reasons for it? One, of course, is co-viewing. You're not watching it on a small screen, right? So one impact is, of course, the big screen, impact that, kind of comes onto it. And, if you look at, all the sales numbers that Amazon and Flipkart keep reporting, the number of 4K televisions being sold in the country are only on the rise. So, people are watching much better quality content on TV. So it's an ad that is more impactful when you watch it on a big screen. Second, you're watching it with your family, you're watching it with someone. Chances are you will discuss it with someone. Every time Rahul Dravid came on screen, we used to say, like, who even discusses about engine oil in this way, like that. And that's how you remember the ad. However good or bad it may be is a discussion for later. And I think the other important factor that I feel personally, the reason why people remember ads or are more tolerant to ads on connected TV are two things. One, in a way, you're sort of opting in to watch those ads. Like, say, for example, you're watching a particular thing on Hotstar or, somewhere on connected TV. You know that, you want to watch that content, so you have that illusion of control saying that I've opted in for it, even if ads are coming, I'm okay, sort of a thing. So that, I think, is one. And the second thing is also the number of ads are limited. On TV, if you're watching, you have like a minute or 2 minutes of continuous ads that come in, so you will not remember the first ad that played in the ad break. But in case of connected TV, it's 1 or 2 pre-rolls at max, which is also 20 seconds. So that kind of stays longer for people. People are less likely to skip and go ahead. Are things that I feel, the reasons why the attention for ads on connected TV or OTT is higher. And, people are more tolerant to it than other, formats of, platforms where they consume content.
Nupur, very correct, absolute insight which you shared is right. The fact that you opted in, because when you were having those breaks on television, you say, "Arey bhai, wapas se ad break." But here you're aware. No, I only opted for a free, So thanks for highlighting that. Coming to now, on the expanding, acquiring new users. On Vector to you, have you found, with connected TV, are you able to reach newer audiences? How do you get more viewership? Have you faced any challenges? How's it for you?
Hi, thank you for having me here. See, I think before I answer that, it's been a journey, right, for television itself. The speed with which changes happened when television was actually, say, came to the fore the first time. It took about 30 years for private channels to come on. And then it took a decade for, the direct-to-home players to come on. Then again, a decade for, OTT and Chromecasts of the world to come on. So I think that change obviously is happening rapidly. So therefore, CTV definitely adds a lot of new audience for any brand. Having said that, I think, and I think I agree with some of the previous panelists also, while research does give a lot of positive results on CTV and where it's headed, I think we are probably 1 or 2 steps away from its peak, really, or maybe even lesser than that. Because, see, the audience compared to the reach of linear TV is still niche, if I may use that word. Therefore, with that limited universe and depending on the product or the brand that you are promoting, it matters a lot, right? For example, I think one of them earlier mentioned that I don't get up in the morning thinking of getting a loan, right? I mean, if I have to get a loan, I know it's a fairly logical process, right, in the mind. So therefore, because that base is currently still much lower, and obviously it's going to increase. All sorts of good things are happening. Like she mentioned about 4K. I was reading a report that apparently 9 out of 10 televisions last year were smart TVs. So, I mean, yes, it's progressing, but the audience is still niche. So that's a bit of a challenge, especially in a category which you know, is not necessarily only going to be driven by Tom. I'm completely on board with what Jahid mentioned earlier, that Tom is the first thing that should, you know, that one should try and influence. But there are other things that come along. So that's one. Second is that because a lot of it is subscription based, a lot of times people switch. And therefore, to that extent, I am, you know, dependent on what I'm being shown as an audience for me to be retained on that particular platform. And like I mean, I think the audience needs to feel love. You know, if there are recommendations, curated content, and they are bang on, I will keep going back. So
Yeah, so from what you're saying, you spoke about the connected TV penetration, of course, right? But at the same time, we also had the previous panel which also spoke about vertical formats. That means advertisers are already understanding that mobile is the device of connected TV too. Considering that it has become a part of our body, right? I mean, all of us have the mobile with us all the time. You know, in terms of stickiness, in terms of loyalty, Manju, from you, if what has been your experience or your understanding, from a viewer perspective, are you able to, get, loyalty from them? Any your perspective on this?
Hi, so thanks for having me here. So again, the success, or probably when you measure loyalty, right, or probably success of any marketing campaign, why is Google such a big success and we are seeing connected TV evolve? There are practically 3 or 4 variables which a marketer first looks at, and then you go about creating or visualizing a campaign. So the first element being a customer 360-degree view. Does CTV do that? Probably to some bit, but it's still very broken. Audience loading and personalization is a very important variable. Does CTV let you do it? Again, a lot of walled gardens are there. So the audiences are completely fragmented at the moment. Third aspect is how much do they let you do real-time campaign orchestration? Now, if me, right, Apollo as a brand, and again, if we have to go and do a big, massive campaign, the thing for us is we will probably have to reach out to multiple CTV partners, multiple walled gardens, and then at our back end, we'll have to stitch a lot of things together. So measuring loyalty walled garden by walled garden is very much possible. But across the ecosystem is still very fragmented, is still increasing. There will be a lot of proprietary partnerships that will happen. CTV fraud is something that's also evolving big time. While numbers to you might look really, really good, but at the back end, if you analyze that data, you will understand some data points. So fraud probably would be a big, big challenge. So yes, I see a lot of issues there. But again, as an ecosystem, there's no other way to say that in the next 2 years, almost every other enterprise or mid-market company will definitely have loyalty metrics across CTV, will definitely have dedicated brand budgets on CTV. But yes, we are still little bit far away from there.
Probably, maybe one could have programs where you're going to, give offers for subscriptions, tie up with the platforms and offer subscriptions, and that way probably build loyalties. I do not know. But yes, too early days to see how things will go. Coming back to you, Lalatendu, okay, now here, the question is, it's rather hard to find the perfect balance between providing value for customers and ensuring sustainable revenue streams for content providers. Yeah, so between content and pricing, okay, being in a media agency, what do you think? How to, how does pricing, influence viewership?
Yeah. No, before I answer that, I was just thinking what Himanshu said, if I can take 30
Yes,
seconds
yes,
on
please.
that. See, CTV is not going to give you net new untapped customer because maybe linear TV would have covered that. But when it comes to contextual advertising, capturing the customer with the right intent is far more possible in a CTV environment. As some of you might have, seen the latest research by Byron Sharp, right? This entire mental availability, or what he talks about, Toma and all that stuff, which is to say, does he think about me when he has a particular need? And I can target that better if, let's say, somebody has been watching the movie Big Shots 3 times in this month. Maybe I'll throw a mutual fund or some kind of a AIF product, which is much more sophisticated, versus somebody who is on G5 and watching much more Telugu-related serials. I can give some local product, right? So it's not about CTB getting you net new untapped customers, but it is maybe that finding that right mental availability, catching them at the right time is the differentiation is what we're looking at. To your specific question in that context, how is the pricing and the content provider from a publisher's perspective, I think. In India in particular, people are very price sensitive, and the fragmentation in the market also prevents people having too many subscriptions, right? Beyond a point, I think everybody in this room is well off, but how many of you would have 5 paid subscription plus more? Very unlikely. So therefore, Netflix also started an ad-supported layer in last 5 months, if I see. They have added 5 million who have gone on that route, which is 25% of net new acquisitions over the last 5 months, right? So in developed market also, people are preferring because of this fragmentation. Because there was a time when Netflix was the only game in the town and nobody was, taking a second thought about paying for it. But now you have to follow, HBO Max, you have to follow Hulu, you have to follow a bunch of other stuff, right? So that's what's happening, and more so in India and Asia. In fact, I was looking at a stat in Japan. 71% of people who are on ad-supported layer rather than ad-free paid subscription. India now has this free plus premium model has launched. Many of the publishers are also going into a marketplace route, right, like Prime TV. So yes, we need to be thoughtful about how much is the paying capability of our audience, given the fragmentation, and then content strategy should follow.
Yeah, thanks, Lalatedu. Considering, that we know that the audience is either paying or not paying, or fairly, of course, we have more data with this audience. We can assume who might be sitting in front of the TV basis the kind of content there. So, Nupur, if I can, come to you and ask you about, and also, if even the previous team has spoken about the mid-funnel, Jahid was speaking about how mid-funnel is very important also in connect. What has been your experience in, tapping your, the full funnel marketing over here? And do you think also is full funnel a possibility within Connected TV?
So my personal philosophy is that media or any mediums or any platforms that we use are sort of funnel stage agnostic. It is up to the media planner, it is up to the brand on how do we want to use it. For example, for one of our e-commerce brands, we've also used TV to generate traffic and, have them come onto a sale when the sale was happening. And, we've used prime time where we've, plastered Aston bands on GEC channels and said that, we've got a midnight sale happening, please come and, shop. So, we've used the most mass mediums also to generate traffic, which is, something that, we would pay for a CPC campaign and do it through digital alone, right? So I feel that CTV, again, I agree with most of the people here where we are saying, it's very niche, it's very premium. Yes, it is still very niche and very premium. From a visual perspective, it still appeals more from a upper funnel perspective where we are showing a very, very fancy, product probably, like, we had actually placed, an auto car ad of ours on CTV during the World Cup. very visual, stunning scenery, and the car comes in, you feel you want to know more about it, right? So that is where we started then doing that. We will use a bunch of mediums along with that to kind of support it. Also, what we've done is that lower funnel is still a little difficult currently in the given scheme of things to kind of get it done through CTV, because you have to still change devices and do it. Television, you've got one remote with one little button to kind of navigate. So one thing that we did was we mapped out dealer locations, and then we started telling people go click on it on your phone, and you can explore more and things like that. So these are things that are again very very nascent, but yes, of course, there is opportunity to delve deeper as the medium evolves. As there are more and more consumers coming on board, there will be more and more creativity that will come in on how we are using CTV differently. I don't think there is no reason why if there is a beauty influencer showing a particular way of doing her eye makeup, there should just be a link saying that like buy these 3 products of Nykaa. So it's just about a creativity on how we are using it.
Yeah, yeah. And it is very interesting on what you said that, I can be full funnel. It's not just that connected TV is enabling it. I can do it in any medium,
Any medium.
if I think sharply. So that's absolutely a key takeaway. Since you spoke about creativity, I just want to come to you, Himanshu, on the very fact that, I remember, we were one of the early digital agencies. So I remember inside those छोटे से screen में, suddenly the creativity was lost. We used to have static banners, and even till today, it is a fact that so long as you're on a laptop and on a device with digital creativity, you can't match the large screen. But now with connected TV, you have digital data, you have data about the user, different ways. So, creativity, what do you think can be the impact? How can you leverage it?
Absolutely. So creativity is one piece, I think, for which I love CTV. As I said, last 6 months back, we didn't have a dedicated CTV budget. Since months hence, our brand campaign, we did it with a dedicated CTV budget, different creatives across different mediums, different devices, and it worked wonders for us. And that's how this transition happened, wherein now having those dedicated budgets and dedicated targets. In fact, one of the biggest reasons why we love CTV is, so probably I'll have 3 to 4 big reasons why I like advertising on CTV. The first one being, so Apollo as a brand, which is purely enterprise, I think over the last 40 years, we have served some 90 million customers in India. So acquiring new customers probably for a brand like us, while it's a great play, capturing the entire 90 million set probably is where we want to head towards. Now, how would I go about doing that on a linear TV or a traditional TV or outdoor? Because a lot of things get lost in translation, because you are kind of throwing a dart blindly and trying to acquire both new and repeat customers. Using CTV, probably you can action those very, very actionable cohorts. Okay, probably baby care is a category. Now, rather than showing a linear TV ad at a particular time or a location, I can specifically target a cohort which is baby care and probably female hygiene on my platform, and then actively show them my brand communications on CTV. That's one very, very good impactful metric for me. The second role that a CTV would play for me is, across India, right, while penetration numbers, how internet is going, 9 out of 10 TVs are TV. All of this sounds very good. But the real issue at hand is, if you look at the country, about 30 to 40 million users is where the real LTV game happens, because those are the most profitable cohorts. Now CTV, and that's where CTV is where all of these cohorts are. So if you want to action them, probably send a very strong message, have the right offers in front of those people, you can actively retarget those customers and probably show them those offers. So that's where CTV becomes very impactful, both as a creativity medium and a targeting medium.
Yeah, thanks. Hector, coming back then on the content perspective, do you think that, more varied content will, help you as a brand to target newer audiences?
Yes, and see, I think firstly, let's talk about what it will do to the platform, right? Because today, if I am on a particular platform and I am engaged with the kind of content, what I was speaking about earlier also, that is being thrown at me, apart obviously some things that I will search on my own, I think to a great extent the switch between one content provider to the other is arrested, and therefore, obviously, diverse content. I mean, I'll be just banal in saying that yes, of course, diverse content helps, but also depends on the kind of audiences. And again, I'm taking from what all three of my co-panelists have said, that if I am a brand which is, for example, digital native, okay, and most of my transactions, even my research, my thinking, everything happens on digital, it would be, I'm not taking away from the planning that obviously digital native brands do, but it will be probably a slightly easier call for me to take to put my monies on CTV. To balance it, if your brand has a very diverse audience, what Himanshu was mentioning earlier, that for example, I was in Lucknow, Ahmedabad the day before and yesterday, and I was meeting customers, and I could see that there is a stark difference, and these weren't non-affluent customers, all of them. I mean, there were one or two non-affluent customers also, but what I'm trying to say is that yes, the usage is increasing, but we need to bear in mind that the balance between the mediums that I choose is extremely important when I'm looking at a very broad audience. When I'm looking at for example, just online life insurance, right? I mean, it would be a no-brainer for me to have my monies put on CTV. So I think also one more point to what the panelists were saying earlier is that the the key would be to also not go down the road that linear TV has gone down, right? Why, apart the fact that, of course, I have to do appointment viewing on linear TV, which is the biggest bane for it. I think we hate ads on linear TV because I know that it's free, sort of, I know that, but I hate it because it's too much for me. So which is why the intrusion factor will come at play at some point in time. It's not right now, but there are things happening. There are QR codes being, probably not as much as in India, but many countries have already gone past. They're exploring AR, VR overlays. So I'm saying, at what point in time do I, because definitely my attention is more on CTV. There is no doubt about it. I'm going to remember your brand. But am I making the same mistake that we've already done with linear TV?
Right.
So,
Absolutely. This is very true. And I think there might be brands, if I looked at the advertising that happened during the World Cup, definitely I don't think any brands treated connected TV in any different way than they did TV, which is the unfortunate part. But I'm sure things will change. It's also early days, and how much can you invest in creativity? Those challenges are there. So Nupur, going from there, since we do have data, different and more enriched, how can content be tuned to? Do you think there is an opportunity there which is to be tapped still?
Yeah, so I think one of the bigger advantages of CTV is the fact that most of these viewers are logged in viewers. You're either watching YouTube connected TV or you're watching Hotstar connected TV. And most of the times you're logged in. So you can, while you might be using your husband's login ID or your friends, it'll be difficult. But if you're using any other family members, user ID, it'll be fairly easier for us to understand who is the kind of a person, what are the kind of ads that they are likely to click out, because that is also the data that you're getting, right? So you can understand that demographically what and who is this person, and then because that logged in data comes back on the phone, and if they are continuing their user journey on the phone, you'll get more and more signals. So one of the things that we've also started recommending to our brands is that, make sure that the click out is to your website. So you're collecting that first party data, you're collecting that cohort of people who've come in from a connected TV, link, and of course all the tagging and taxonomy is there. So you know that these are the people. It is a very, very small bunch of universe or of website visitors that is there currently. But as the universe of CTV expands, this user base is also going to expand. So, and once you are the owner of this data, you will know what is to be done with it. How do you cross sell to it? If they've come on a particular car model page, if not that, maybe show them a sedan. If not a sedan, show them, that there also is a sunroof, there is also this music system, and then there are multiple opportunities of how do you talk to the same customer with different brand offerings that you have.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, yeah, now, coming from this, the fact that, you do have data, what content, which audience came. Fact that people can click immediately if they are on their mobile, of course they can click, and if they are on a touch screen kind of a device, then they can. We also know that people look at content and they do immediately respond on social media. Okay, like we handle Big Boss, and the amount of conversation is like huge, and we know it in many other. So Imanshu, as a brand yourself, or in your observation, what do you think are the opportunities and maybe challenges or limitations? You are now on connected TV, but can you leverage today, considering walled gardens or whatever all these? Are you able to leverage, really the social connect with what you do on connected TV?
So I think I'll have an answer. I'll probably answer it in a different manner.
Yeah, sure.
So what I see happening is, so Facebook had a Meta, in fact, had a big play with Facebook video. In fact, a lot of Android TVs were preloaded with Facebook video. That somehow didn't work out well for them. So this connected TV space, especially for a player like Meta and now with Elon entering with X, now that space is still pretty much left untouched for these guys. Google will always have a play because they own the OS, or the biggest smartphone OS in the country or globally. But Meta or X, I really see doing some either integrations. So partnerships, one has to be the way forward, because it is not only the CTV players, but in fact Meta or X or maybe Microsoft's LinkedIn, all of these platforms need to be on CTV, and they need to have a play there. At the moment, I don't see a play that these guys have on CTV. So that's one. The second piece is around CTV again, we'll want to partner. If this does not happen, then I see a big acquisition, because right now there's not also a very big player in CTV. While we have seen a lot of startups entering this space, couple of them now have become multi-million-dollar companies, showing that yes, there's enough scale and enough opportunity, and the platform, the medium, the ecosystem will definitely scale up over time. But again, that gives a lot of validation, but there's no clear leader in this space right now. So I assume probably Meta or X or LinkedIn, Microsoft, someone is gonna wait, and probably we'll see some acquisitions happening, we'll see some big partnerships happening. I think that's how I see this transitioning into a social play.
Right, okay. So at this moment, then it will have to be the way we do anything else, the way we do traditional TV and social integration. I guess that's the way in which today a brand can actually leverage this. Coming to you now, Hector, more towards the end of our discussion, considering all of, the way in which connected TV is moving, do you see, advertising obviously is going to drive OTT and connected TV. Where do you see this being headed? How do you see advertising evolve with connected TV?
I mean, see, I think enough has been said. I think it's only going to get better from here. There is absolutely no doubt about it. And like the panelists were mentioning earlier, there is value in connected TV simply because you have programmatic buying, you have addressable audiences, you have cross-platform promotions. Probably at some point in time, like I was saying, interactive, call to actions or engagements. So there is absolutely no doubt that it's only going to get better from here. To what extent, I suppose, only time will tell. Like Himanshu was saying, I don't know if there is a need, for example, at some point in time in the foreseeable future, for maybe, you know, a couple of players consolidating the conversation, because obviously I can't go to multiple players. It will become difficult over a period of time. Like right now, it's still fairly limited. When the growth happens, it is going to become a necessity to have couple of, how it happens in the rest of the digital world, right? I have my agency, I have my partners who will have to lead that consolidation. So, so yeah, I think it's only going to get better, because I can see my matrices as opposed to linear TV. So when it will happen, it all depends on various factors concerning consumption patterns across the country. But
Yeah, so definitely measurement is definitely going to make it so much more efficient. I think we have to crack the creative to break the clutter. Any comments, especially from both of you, considering you would have some global earnings, anything, any last comments on how you see innovations or...
I'll just add to what Himanshu was saying. There
Yeah.
are two things I'm really excited about what CTV can do. One is this obviously cross-platform engagement. They're already allowing this interactive advertisement where I see an ad and I can jump to bottom funnel bar to the phone, right, or download or something. That's number one. Number two is the viewability aspect. Many of the ads which are thrown and people probably see the first 10 seconds. But if you have a story, the best example is PhonePe in this cricket thing. They were pushing two things. छोटे ट्रांजैक्शन में पैसे नहीं लगते. Second is insurance में monthly में EMI पे कर सकता हूँ. Now, just because CTV is not there, it was pray and pray, right? Both are coming again and again after some gaps. But imagine a world where, as a marketer, I get to know that guy, he got the payment story of mine. He has already downloaded, but he hasn't gone for the insurance story. Why am I wasting showing the payment ad? Rather, I would switch to insurance ad. So this is the world we are heading to. But as the panel was saying, it's a little bit probably one step behind it, and that maturity needs to come in.
Thank you. Anyone, any closing, anything you would want to add? All right. So that was it from us. Thank you so much, everyone, for very, very insightful discussion.